Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ost77SC. That is A to the UST77SC. Which is, by the way, a little bit of an inside joke with myself, Zapper, and Zion, two friends of mine, as I was asking them for more of a simple channel introduction, as opposed to the traditional, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, this is Austin here, etc. And Zion told me to imitate H to the Uski, which I found quite comedic. And so, of course, this is the first dozen, well, the 1 dozen mark of my commentary, so this is the 12th episode of my feature commentary series, which will be a 1v1. Featuring Superman, our blue Protoss player here, spawning at the bottom right, and Zapper, our red Zerg player, spawning at somewhat the top right. I am unaware of the name of this map, so if any user could comment perhaps the name, or I will definitely post it in the description. So I do apologize for my faltering on map names. I'm just not too acquainted with the latest Blizzard rotation for Season 5, as I have not played very much this season due to school and midterms and the holidays and a cross-country ski trip upon which I embarked last weekend. I'm sure you heard of that in episode number 11. And so this matchup was sent in to me indeed by Zapper. Never forget you can send in your own replays at your leisure to ost77sc@gmail.com. I'm always welcome to receiving viewers' replays and casting them. And now let us dive into the analysis of today's game. Zapper, of course, building this 14 pool, and Superman opting for the pylon gateway at the natural ramp. So perhaps this could expand into a Forge Fast Expand. I like the double use of expand. That was not intentional. But the Forge Fast Expand is a very viable strategy against Zerg, as it allows the Protoss player to capture the natural, which is usually under siege by early Roachling pressure, and the Forge, of course, the 2 photon cannons placed conveniently to cover most of opposing Roach's range, is placed to block aggression, of course, and it allows users to transition quickly into other builds against Zerg. And since Overlord drops are only possible later in the game, this fends off early Zerg aggression almost entirely, and is often used by Protoss players. So perhaps Zapper's aware of this, and he is attempting to counter it, but all I see so far is a spawning pool and a macro hatchery, so we can... Not entirely sure we will see very much early pressure from Zapper, and I am unaware as well as to whether or not he's playing the random race. Usually Zapper does indeed play the random race, as he is quite indecisive. Yet, I have to say, it is quite admirable, his random race ability, and he has received Zerg here. I'm not sure if it was intentional, though, so I will receive his input and post that in the comment section as well, so we'll have quite an expansive comment section this time. And, by the way, for a future episode, the Cybernetics core, by the way, here for Superman, so no foreseeable Forge. For a future episode, I would like to do an all-stars game of my channel so far. So Zion and Zapper, two friends of mine, have sent me in a surplus of replays, and so here are the 2 zealots, by the way, fighting 4 Zerglings. Let us see how this winds up. But nonetheless, this all-star game would consist of myself and Hesperide, my 2v2 partner, who was featured in episode number, I believe it was 9. Yes, I'm quite confident it was episode number 9. So Hesperide and myself would be pitted against Zapper and Zion, the 2 players who have sent in a multitude of replays to this channel, just to have kind of a channel all-stars game, as I did say before, so that you can see how the 2 players that you often see winning in replays they sent in can perform, pitted up against myself and Hesperide, who won in the only game we've been featured in this channel. So nonetheless, we have a second gateway here from Superman, along with Warp Gate Tech in production, and now 3 more gateways, so a 5-gate an early 5-gate build, and usually the 4-gate is the traditional strategy, as Protoss economy this early in the game cannot keep up with that many gates, but I will not question Superman's authority until we see how this develops a little later into the game. And I am a huge fan of the 4-gate strategy, and I used to be a big fan of 3-gate Robo against Terran and Protoss, but now I've transitioned more into a 4-gate kind of player. It is an extremely basic and yet flexible strategy. It allows you to hold off, especially against early pressure, and even put on early pressure of your own. So of course, the Forge Fast Expand is very, very viable. Well, I've said viable, what, like 3 times by now. It is a very acceptable strategy against Zerg, but 4-Gate nonetheless is still powerful. By the way, a Roach War in production for Zapper. Nonetheless, the 4-Gate allows you to produce units quickly and early, so you can put some pressure on your opponent's base, as I did against Zapper in a 1v1, and he became quite aggravated with this, calling me a rusher. A cheeser, essentially. But afterwards, if this initial push fails, as we can see is being undertaken right now by Superman, if the initial push fails, yes, it will come at somewhat of an economical economical expense to you, but your opponent's base will likely be scarred, or at least somewhat impaired economically. So it is usually a positive trade-off for the Protoss player if he's able to execute the 4-Gate pressure early enough and effectively, as essentially the best possible outcome is victory, which has happened to me quite a lot in Silver League, and I have seldom directly lost as a result of my 4-Gate strategy. An opponent has barely defeated me outside of course I have lost, but few opponents have actually defeated me in just general macro outpacing the 4-Gate. Not to be arrogant, but this Roach Warren has finished for Zapper, and the 2 Spine Crawlers are always effective against any form of early pressure. Spine Crawlers are accessible. They're paired with a Queen, as Zapper has 2 Queens here. They're very difficult to penetrate early in the game, so smart use of the Spine Crawler Queen combination for Zapper, as he now has this Zergling Roach composition, along with 3 idle drones, of which I am not the biggest fan, as idle workers at any point in the game, unless it is an absolutely desperate last push or a truly desperate defense, workers must always be mining. As we saw earlier, Superman was able to fend off just 3 Zerglings with his probes, which is absolutely that is fine by my standard. But if you're just leaving workers here idly when your opponent is nowhere near your base and you actually have quite a nice composition of your own, there's no reason for you to have to worry about setting up your base as such. Now we just have this lone stalker here from Superman wandering about the map. Not sure what he is venturing for, but now we have another coordinated push from Superman, of course, with the leading stalker here. So let us see how this finishes. Now the Creep Tumor hit by his leading stalker forces, and the stalker Sentry Zealot Ball now making a push. Zapper is actually slightly outpacing Superman in terms of economy, while he has metabolic boost in production. So let us see how Superman is able to micro this Force Field and Guardian Shield, these Force Field and Guardian Shield abilities. He does so quite well. Not sure he'll be able to fend this off nonetheless, though. I mean, sentries are often underused as their damage output is minimal, but their abilities more than make up for this. So I am a fan of sentries. They must be at least 1/3 of the composition, and let us see how this trade-off went. So 35 kills for Superman, 21 for Zapper, but you must take into account Zerglings always when considering a Zerg player. They are much cheaper to make and much more expendable. So usually, I would say a 15 unit difference is viable, and the unit difference is 14, while our workers killed is tied at 3-3. So now a response push immediately arriving from Zapper. Smart force field here placed by Superman, and his returning hero vindicated by Zapper's roaches. So behind enemy lines 2, and that is the conclusion to the film. Now as we can see here in the population, 46 over 68 to 57 over 92. And actually, I hate to be thinking in fractions today at a linear functions and systems of relations test, and that involved somewhat fractions. So it went rather well, but not excellently, so I'd rather not have to worry about fractions from here on in. So now, as we can see here, just 10 Zerglings, 6 Roaches, and a second expansion here from Zapper. So quite a well-played game indeed. He's put on pressure, he's held off pressure, so I have to say Zapper has played well, but so has Superman. Superman was able to fend off just a couple Zergling harass here, and now let us see how he fends off these Roaches. So the one force field impairing the ability for Zerglings to enter his base, but the remaining Zerglings will hit Superman's probes efficiently, and wow, the workers killed must be tab must be racking up for Zapper. 15, 16, so that is absolutely devastating to Superman's economy. Although he was able to hold off against the Roach aggression, he will not be able to fend off the death of this pylon, or will he? Oh, 28 health, so I figured Zapper would be able to eliminate it, but no, just 28 health remaining, so that was an extremely well microed engagement there for Zapper. He was able to flood in the Zerglings, effectively deploy them into the mineral line, and just wipe out Superman's economy. So now Zapper not quite doubling his opponent's population, but his population exceeds the maximum achievable by Superman. So that always speaks volumes for a player's macro ability. I'm not saying Superman's is limited, but the timing of his pushes, which is a combination of luck and skill, has just been a little bit off, and he has yet to transition, just maintaining this 5-gate pressure. 15 minutes into the game, you would generally be looking to have transitioned already. You know, once you see what your opponent is in the midst of doing, you should be able to counter it. And I would strongly recommend Superman to go for a Charge Rod Archon at this point. Against Roach Ling, Charge Rod Archon is excellent. The Archons are able to effectively wipe, I've said effectively 3 times, so are able to smartly eliminate the opposing Roaches, and Charge Lots upgraded 333 are devastating to opposing both economies and armies. So now these sentries losing their lives to Zapper's speed-boosted Zerglings, as he now has a macro hatchery in production here in his main base, as Superman moves to engage Zapper's Roaches. So just a trade-off here at the battlefield. 88 to 47 kills for Superman. So, as I said, the 15 give or take for Zerglings. I suppose that is somewhat correct, but it is kind of exponential, as Zapper boasted some, I guess it was about 20 Zerglings in that last battle and lost them. Nonetheless, we have an Infestation Pit in production here for Zapper. So Infestation Pit, smart way to transition late game, and as I said earlier, Superman should have transitioned by now, and he has. Oh, there we go. He should have transitioned by now, and he does. Dark Shrine and Twilight Council. So the Charge Lot Archon. Wow, I'm astonished. I did not notice the Twilight Council. I apologize. Absolutely, that was my fault. But the Charge Lot Archon is now underway for Superman. So thank you, Superman. Even though this game was already played and I had no hand in it, thank you for listening to my future voice. I must have gone. My words must have traveled back in time and informed you to go Charge Lot Archon, and then you did so. Excellent. My one complaint against Superman has just been erased. Except now Zapper is some 30 population ahead of him with this Roach Ling, and I'm not sure if this Dark Shrine will be able to land in time yet. Zapper has no detection, so it's at 75 out of 100, and 18 minutes into the game. I am just, my palms are sweating. I am excited for this upcoming battle. Zapper has a number of Overlords now, and several Roaches streaming out of his many bases, so the Dark Shrine will be able to finish, and a number of Dark Templar in production for Superman with no detection from Zapper. Infestors are not detectives. For a scary second I thought they were, but now these Dark Templar, along with the remainder of his army, will now mobilize, and no detection anywhere. Will Zapper, or does an Infestation Pit allow for Overseers? It indeed does, so let us see if Zapper is able to get an Overseer in time before this final push, presumably final, as Zapper is just heavily outpacing Superman in terms of economy. So now he pushes on Zapper's second expand here, and the Dark Templar will have to be microed efficiently, as his Superman's main force is just largely unable to hold off Zappers, and now these Dark Templar are just moving into play. Let us see how many kills they are able to rack up, as Zapper will surely counterattack, so he does. Let us see how many Dark Templar Superman is able to warp in. He has the economic capability, so he should be warping in Dark Templar. No, Stalkers, and I believe firmly that Superman should have warped in a number of Dark Templar, as although Zapper does have these Overseers in production, it will be a close battle, as the Overseers will not be able to arrive too quickly. So now these Dark Templar moving, and a changeling here. Oh, now the Overseer will finally arrive, so that will be the end of the Dark Templar. Another no Overseer at the base, so now Superman with the GG, and that was a true nail biter towards the end as Zapper wipes out the remainder of Superman. I thought I said superhuman for a brief moment. Zapper is able to defeat Superman, so that is about all I can say about this replay. It's just an exhalation. It was a very well played game on both parts. A nail biter truly towards the end with the Dark Templar, and the timing and the lack of upgrades on both sides was my major complaint. No upgrades from Zapper and no upgrades from Superman. 20:55 into the game. So I hope you enjoyed this replay. I sure did. I found that the only problem with Superman's play was essentially his pressure, his late transition, and well, his pressure was alright. The late transition was a problem, and the economic power with only this one expansion. The Zerg player Zapper only had 2 expansions as well, and Zerg players should be expected to, I believe Zerg players should be expected to get the 3rd by at least the 20-minute mark. And so, nonetheless, as we can see here, the major fault as well for Superman is the population, 105 to 46. He was unable to keep Zapper off balance, and Zapper was just able to macro up and culminate a force big enough to defeat his opponent. So nonetheless, a good game on both players' parts. I appreciate Zapper sending in this replay. I hope you all enjoyed episode number 12. This is A to the UST77SC, OS77SC, signing out. See you next time.